Hi friends, welcome to week 1 of our December blog class, and Merry Christmas. Hopefully you're all on day 3 of your Advent train that we did. We opened day 3 this morning at our house and we got Tootsie Rolls, and then in each one of ours we put a little activity that we could do for the month, and today's activity was take food to the food bank. I think the closer it gets to Christmas, they get kind of, I don't know the word, a lot of food. So we thought we would do that one earlier in the year. So that's our activity for today that we opened for our little Advent train. This week we're going to make, this month we're going to make some Christmas cards. And I know you're thinking, Christmas cards? We should already have those mailed out. But these are a little bit more elaborate cards. So these are the kind that you would give to your spouse or your parent or your best friend, your next door neighbor. These aren't the ones that you would make in mass and send out to everyone you know on earth. So they're a little bit more in detail. So each week we'll make 2, and we're just going to do 3 weeks this month because then we'll take Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve off from the blog class, and then we'll start back up in January. So I'm just going to kind of show you the cards. These are the ones we're going to make today. All I Want for Christmas and Believe. And then week 2, we're going to make Countdown to Christmas. And this fun one that we get to use our new blossoms and lace on, with a little hanging Santa. And then week 3, we'll get to use our blossoms and lace again. And then this cute one, and it has a little tag that comes out and this little flap comes up. So this one's a little interactive. So we'll do that one on week 3. Anyway, those are the ones that we'll make, 2 each week. I think it'll be easy peasy for you guys. Also, I'll do a couple cut diagrams because if you followed the list and you just have one piece of certain papers, you have to cut just right to get everything out of it. So I will put a cut diagram on there when you need those. And also, I'll put the measurements down below so that you have those too. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, we're going to start with this All I Want for Christmas card, and it's really fun. It's got lots of layers, lots of dimension. So we're going to start out with your Harvest dot paper, and with that paper, your first piece is going to be a 6 by 12, and you're going to fold that in half so that our card is 6 by 6. And then also out of the Harvest dot, while you have it out with your cutter, we're going to cut a piece that is 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then our last piece is going to be 3 3/4 by 2 1/4. So 3 3/4 by 2 1/4. So that is out of our Harvest dot, and then you're done with that. So we're not going to use Harvest dot again, so you can just set that aside. The next paper you want is the Rejoice Holly. I don't think I mentioned that we're using the Rejoice collection, but you probably knew that from your supply list, so forget I said it. So the first piece from Rejoice is going to be 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and this is another one where you're not going to have to be really careful because you'll have plenty of paper. So 5 3/4, and then a piece that is 2 by 3 1/2. It's going to layer on that one. Okay, so we're cutting out all of our pieces before we begin. Alright, next we're going to use the Rejoice Adorned, and you're going to need a piece that is 2 3/4 by 5 3/4. So 2 3/4 by 5 3/4. And on this one, you're going to want to watch the direction of your ornaments because it's going to go on the card horizontally. So just make sure your ornaments are the right way. You don't see a lot of them, but we want them to be the right way. And then that piece, Adorned, you're going to need to keep. We're going to use that again. Okay, next we're going to do our Clover. And this is one where you need to stay with me and cut it like I tell you, or you're going to run out. So if you don't have another piece, you'll have a sad day. So stay with me as we cut this. We are going to cut first a strip that is 3 inches by 12. So cut 3 inches off of that, and then cut that right in half so that you have 2 pieces that are 3 by 6. Okay, and for that card, that's all we'll need. So now just set your clover aside until we get to our next card. And now is the tricky paper. And I'm going to do a cut diagram for this one. This is the Rejoice Glad Tidings, and we're using this back side that has the story page. So I'll give you a cut diagram because I had this idea that we don't use this side at all, but that's a fun, Glad Tidings is a fun title. So if you go right above the G and you cut that off, you can save this and then you can use it on another project. So I'm going to tell you the sizes and then I'm going to show you below the cut diagram, because if I told you on here it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. So the first piece we're going to need is 2 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then we're going to need a piece that's 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. Now on these, you're writing, you want it directional. So I'll show you on the diagram how that goes. Okay, then we're going to need this cute All I Want for Christmas noteworthy. 2 pieces of chipboard out of your 12 by 12 chipboard. These 2 little flourishes with holly on them. And then, let me show you. So on this card, she used a little square out of the die cut. Oh, by the way, our cute Pia that made our Advent train last month, she also made these cards. She designed these cards. So when I say she used, that's what I mean. So she used this little Santa and girl right there, and then just backed it with a scrap. On mine, I took out this little nativity right there and just backed it with a scrap. So I'm going to use the nativity. So really, you have lots of pieces left over, so you get to kind of pick and choose. You could do all kinds of things right here. So those are a couple options. Now, basically, we just have to put it together. And you'll see it just kind of goes together perfectly. Everything just layers on top of everything else. So our holly is going to go on the base of our card. And then we're going to layer this adorned piece and our Glad Tidings piece on our 2 green pieces. And they're all just centered. You have a little tiny border. And again, if you're an inker or a sander, go ahead and shabby these up all you'd like. So we've got those 2 pieces. And we're just going to glue those on like this. And it doesn't matter because this is going to be covered up, so it doesn't matter which one's on top. And I would guess, make sure that you go the right direction because I almost blew it right there. It's about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch in. And again, no one's going to see this video, no one's going to see my card. They're not going to know if yours is an inch in, if it's different. Don't stress. And then this one's probably about an inch up from the bottom. It's going to go right there. Now, I'm going to put on this little piece of chipboard because my next piece is going to go on top of it. So it is just going to lay on top of this adorned paper on the left side, kind of at the bottom. It's just going to go right about there. So kind of line it up with the edge of this paper, right about there. Then I'm going to layer the holly berry and my red piece, these 2 on top of each other. Alright, after you layer the holly onto your harvest, that is going to go about half and half on here. And we want to be able to read a little bit of the story there. So about like that. So you're going about halfway up right there and leave a little bit of the story. And then we're going to layer, again, our glad tidings on our red. And I'm just going to, in my bottom right hand corner, I'm just going to put a couple foam squares, which when I place it on, I'll show you why. I've got that piece of chipboard over there on the left, so I just want this piece to sit up a little bit, so I'm just going to put a few right down there in the bottom corner. And then that piece is going to go over my border, kind of sit in there right like that. So those just hold that up so that I kind of have a flat surface right there. Alright, and then our noteworthy, all I want for Christmas, we're going to put foam squares on that, and it's going to pop up right in the center. And then you get to choose your whatever piece you want. And if you want to wait to the end to see what pieces you haven't used, you can, because you'll have extra noteworthy. You'll have extra pieces on your combo sticker, extra pieces on your cutout. So you'll have lots of options there. Or you can just choose one of the options we've done with the cute Santa and the little girl or the nativity. And just for those of you who would like to use the Santa, I'm going to tell you his size. 1 3/8 by 1 3/8. So just kind of center their faces, and it's 1 3/8, and then back it on a scrap. And then that is going to pop up also. And then we're going to put our other piece of chipboard on. And that is going to go at the top left of our noteworthy. Center that right on there. And then this chipboard. And she actually has this chipboard popped up, so I'm actually going to give it some dimension as well. I like the dimension. And usually, I don't know how you guys are, I only like to give handmade stuff like this to people who really appreciate it, because, you know, you don't want all your hard work just chucked in the garbage. Funny thing, my dad has everything I've ever made for him. Cards or projects or books. And he has them all in a drawer. Makes me so happy. Makes me feel good. That's just going to go right up here in the corner. Like that. Alright, now we're ready just to add our bling. And really, you can do that however you want. I'm going to show you this card. So she's got it in the corners of the noteworthy, on top of the little berries, the holly berries, and then in the corners of the card. And I've lost that one right there. I need to re-add that. But you could really put them wherever you want. I think on mine, I want to do red for the holly berries, and then I think I want to put a bigger white crystal one where that star is, or maybe even a gold or yellow something right there. So you can bling it up how you want. Oh yeah, gold, because that's what's on my jewels that I have. And that is card number 1. It is done. Well, if you have rub-ons, let's see what she put inside of hers. The Rejoice rub-ons. This one says joyful. So whatever sentiment you want inside, feel free to put that in. So we will move on to card number 2. Alright, for this card we're going to start out with our clover dot paper. And you've cut that 3 by 12 inch piece off, so you still have this piece left. The next piece you're going to cut is 7 by 10 from right there. So you're going to go over 7 and then cut down and then 10. Then you're going to have these 2 2-inch strips. And we're going to hang on to those. We're not going to cut it right now because this piece, so Pia, this is a noteworthy, and she cut it straight and then backed and backed on the one I've done, just to, you know, add a little variety. The Noteworthy actually looks like this. So I trimmed this off, but I kept these little brackets. So my pieces are going to have to be a little bit bigger than what hers are. So I'm not going to have you cut those, because you'll want to cut them to fit this. So you have your 7 by 10 piece, and then you'll just have those 2 strips. So just set those aside, and we're going to fold this piece in half for a card base. You can score it if you're a perfectionist, or you can just fold it if you're not. And there we've got our card. Okay, so next we're going to take our Glad Tidings piece. And this is the piece where you're going to look at the diagram, because we've cut off a piece right here. The next piece you're going to cut off, you're going to come over to this line and cut down. And I'm not going to tell you the exact measurements because I'll mess it up, but you're going to look below on the diagram and you'll see where to cut. But we're going to cut 4 pieces out that are going to be 1 1/4 by 4 1/2. And their writing will be up. So look at that diagram and get those 4 pieces. And then we're going to move on to our evergreen paper. And you're going to cut 4 paper that those are going to be backed on. And those pieces are just going to be a little bit bigger at 1 1/2 by 4 3/4. So I'll have 4 of those and 4 of our little Glad Tidings strips. I've lost one of mine, but I'm sure it's here somewhere. And then we're going to move on to our circles. So out of your vintage Wildberry dot, you're going to cut out a circle that's about 3 7/8. Like 3 3/4, 3 7/8, somewhere in there. Then you're going to adhere it to your Glad Tidings paper where you see below on the paper. And then with some decorative scissors, I used a small scallop. You're going to cut around it, leaving a small border. Like that. And then depending on your size there, your neck circle is going to be evergreen. And you want it to be a little bit bigger than that. So mine ended up being 4 1/4. So I started out with about 3 7/8 on my red, freehanded the scallop, and then that one's about 4 1/4. That's the look it gave me. See that? And see where I've gone a little uneven right here? I'll just strategically place that so that it falls under, and there will be no problems. Okay, so then you're going to have to decide on your Noteworthy Believe how you want it. So I cut mine out like this. So when I do my piece of Glad Tidings, I made mine a little bit bigger. If you want to cut it straight. So I don't have exact measurements is what I'm trying to say. This one you're going to kind of play it by ear. Then you'll have your 2 strips of evergreen where you can place it on there and cut it to the right size. So that you're going to kind of play by ear depending on how you want to do your Believe. So after that, you need your 2 out of your Noteworthy. There's 2 little holly berry clusters. Get those, and then we'll need our jewels, and we're ready to put it together. So starting with our base, actually, we're going to start with these little strips and place each one of these onto one of our green borders. And I obviously need a new blade. You can see this is hairy. My friend Barbie would just be dying right now. She hates hairy paper. So I need a new blade, but I'm going to sand those off later. So adhere all these to that, and then we'll go from there. Alright, now I've got all of my pieces layered. I'm just going to space them out evenly onto the base of the card, and I'm not going to press them down till I get them all on there, just to make sure I've got them spaced how I want them. Just make sure that your writing is up the right way. Oops. Now, you could drive yourself crazy trying to make these super straight. That's not where I'm going. I just want them kind of straight. Alright. And then on your red circle, give it some dimension. And put it on top of our evergreen circle. And then that one we're going to just place right in the center. And then again, depending on how you cut out your believe, just cut out your next papers accordingly and layer those together. This one actually I'm going to do foam squares. So make sure my writing's the right way. I believe it's going to go on there. I think in just looking at the card, that I think I'm going to glossy accent the top of the believe so that it's kind of shiny. And I'm actually going to pop this up too. So I don't want to put anything out here, just kind of in the center, going to give me some foam squares. But that believe, I just kind of want it to stick out. So I think I might use some glossy accents and maybe even some glitter on there so that it kind of pops out. Had I thought of that sooner, I would have done it so you could see it, but I didn't. So you have to see it in your head. And how many of you guys like Christmas music? Because I personally love it. Every year I'm so excited to see who comes out with a new CD so I can buy more Christmas music. And this year, Colby Calais come out with a Christmas CD, and it's called Christmas in the Sand, and all the songs are about having Christmas in places where there's warm weather, and I love it so much. And she sings a couple duets on there with Gavin DeGraw and Brad Paisley and someone else. They're pretty awesome. Anyway, so if you're looking for some new Christmas music, Colby Calais has some. It's quite awesome, if I do say so myself. If you're festive and in the mood, I was trying to think of another one that was my favorite. Kenny Loggins. No, not Kenny Loggins, just kidding. Dolly Parton and I can't even, who are they? Dolly Parton and Kenny Rogers. Their Christmas CD is one of my all-time favorite. I know that it's old, but it is one of my all-time favorite Christmas CDs ever. So I just added my little holly on there, and I actually want them popped up. They kind of need a little dimension, so I'm going to change those, add some dimension. And then after we get those on there, we're going to bling it up, glam this baby up. So I'm going to show you Pia's card, and she did little graduating jewels right there from large to small, and then covered the holly berry. And then, like I said, I think I'm going to glossy accent or glitter glue or something, I believe, so that it sticks out a little bit too. So there is card number 2. So now you have 2 fabulous cards to give to special people in your life. And that is it for this week. So we will see you next week, and we will make our next 2 cards. And if you find any new Christmas music, let me know. See ya!